This week's episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by
GoDaddy.com.
And Netflix. And Netflix. And Netflix.
You can't do it again.
He doesn't like you.
Sorry.
I don't like you either. We're wanted men. I have a death sentence on 12 systems.
Well, I'll be careful.
You'll be dead.
Dudes with nothing better to do get abducted by the crew of the Starship Alpha 2. They're from the planet Q, which, due to a space-time loop, is stuck in 82 and must be rescued. They need our heroes to discuss the latest news and give their reviews of games and movies too. Sure hope you're not confused. We swear this is all true, not just the premise too. The Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Totally Rad Show, episode number 49. I'm Alex Albrecht.
That's Babyface Trachtenberg.
That's handsome Kanata.
Zinger.
Wow! You zung him good, babyface. The Totally Rad Show is a weekly dose of all things rad. We rifle through your sock drawer and find all the rad nuggets that you don't want us to see. That's what we do. Then we make a show about
With
it.
black lights. We're in there with black lights and...
Yeah, we're like, we're
CSI
like an MTV reality show. And maybe we're gonna date
That's
you.
what I was thinking.
I know.
We're
That's
gonna
what you
date
do.
you. Yeah.
We'd like to thank Michael from Braddington or Bradenton,
Florida. We don't know the pronunciation.
Florida. That's all right, dudes. It's a pretty
it's
cool
cool.
background.
Yeah.
I sort of like it's like when you, have you ever done that where you turn off the light and you have like either like a
Like the
match
Sprint
or like
commercials now.
Like the Sprint
Yeah,
commercials.
well, Dayton Fair. In case anyone's seen those commercials and loving them, that's the directors of Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, really?
Oh.
The spots. Yeah.
Wow. That's
They done
super-
great.
I wondered why my
commercials.
heart was warmed when I watched them. Now I know.
Yeah.
It was the music and the sunshine.
Speaking of warming my heart,
Yes.
guess what?
What?
We're in another comic book.
What? Stop
I
it,
did.
comic
No,
people.
don't stop it. Continue to do it. I love it. Our buddy David Guyton, another thing we don't know how to
That's all right.
pronounce, wrote us into an indie book. This cool image of Alex requesting rights for robots everywhere.
Dude, robots need hugs too.
That's true.
Jinx.com.
Robots are people. And if I haven't had a chance to read his comic yet, but it looks really cool.
So it's an indie comic?
Yeah, it's like self-published. He's self-publishing it.
Dude, I love that.
So he's drawing us, and
Where would I go if I
awesome.
wanted to pick up that self-published book?
His website evidently is madscientiststudios.com, and the name of the book is Blind.
Blind,
So
okay.
you do madscientiststudio.com/blind. So if you want to check it out, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so I'm excited to do it myself.
We're in
Looks
it.
awesome.
Probably
Yeah,
the
it
best
looks
book
awesome.
ever.
At least the best panel
Yeah.
of the book.
Speaking of panels, let's sit down and in a panel form and talk about some movies.
I'll form the panel head. Yes.
This week in movies, we are not going to talk about the Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
You have just seen them and enjoyed them and know who wins, and we are back in time.
Your little prediction?
And
No, I was just gonna say I know too. It's
Yeah.
Dan.
it's probably not
is
me.
Dan.
So yeah, tune in next week for the results of our wager.
Right.
Yes. The
yeah.
breakfast of champion.
Yeah.
Oh!
You like that? I took off the S.
That's awesome.
Because
That's
it's
awesome.
singular.
But this week, we went and saw Be Kind, Rewind. So Be Kind, Rewind is written and directed by Michel Gondry, who is probably the most awarded television commercial and music video director of our time, and he's done some of the most incredible music videos. You can buy them on DVD, but if you don't know anything about him, just type his name in YouTube and you will see his Kylie Minogue, Daft Punk,
Yeah.
Pretty incredible
White Stripes,
films, too.
and the movies he's done Human Nature, which I never got a chance to see.
Oh, I like a lot.
Really?
Yes.
One of my favorite movies of all time, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Mine too.
Right.
And Science of Sleep, which I did not like.
I didn't see.
Okay, so here he is with Be Kind Rewind, starring Jack Black and Mos Def,
And what's that guy?
Danny Glover.
Yeah.
And Mia Farrow as herself.
A crazy old person.
Lots of children.
It's basically about these two guys who are taking care of a video store. When the tapes accidentally get magnetized and erased, they have to remake the films on the tapes to save the store. That is the plot of the movie.
That
what
is
did
the
you
plot.
think of the movie, Jeff?
I'm very conflicted about this film. There is a lot of stuff this movie doesn't get right. There's a lot of stuff for me that just didn't work. It has a very odd sensibility about it. It's almost like got cartoon logic. I felt a lot like Kung Fu Hustle to me a little bit, at least the first half hour at least. Or maybe like Nothing But Trouble, that old Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, yeah.
Love
movie.
that movie,
It's a
and
great
I'm in a
movie.
minority.
But you know how
You
that
are.
movie, those kind of movies have
On
this
this
weird
panel.
logic that it's like cartoon logic. It doesn't
Yeah.
really make sense. And that really threw me, and I kind of didn't think it worked in a weird way. But what this movie does get right, it gets really, really right. And that is the joy of movie making and really the joy of making anything creative. I think that's what the movie is really about, is what it is to create something. And I love that about it. I loved the part where they remake Ghostbusters alone was worth the price of admission for me. I mean, that's the impetus. Ghostbusters was the impetus for our intros
Yeah.
on this show. And it's so cool that that movie was the impetus for their adventure in this film. But ultimately, everything else for me, everything that the story hangs on, the plot basically, didn't work.
Well, I'm going to say that it was funny because I had the same notion when they were in the TV doing the "We're ready to believe you," and I was like, "That's so sweet. That's what we do, sort of." I didn't have as many problems with it, and I think that's because I knew going in that this was not going to be a great film by any stretch of the imagination, but I knew it was going to be a fun film that was worth seeing, and that's sort of what I walked out thinking. That was really fun. Like it just is fun. It's sort of like I could see myself doing, I could see myself walking out of this movie as a kid and trying to do what they did. You know what I mean? Like it just was sort of like, it just was like a nice, sweet film. There's nothing great about the film. I thought the acting was good. I love Mos Def. I think Mos Def is
He's great.
amazing.
He's gonna be
Yeah.
a big someday.
amazing. Did
Yeah.
you see Something the Lord Made on HBO?
No, I never saw
I've
that.
seen a lot of things.
Do
about
that. Do that again. If you see that,
Yeah.
and it will even take you to another place with Mos Def. It's genius. But yeah. So overall, it was like it was really enjoyable. I would say if you like filming, and I think you're totally right. It brings the joy of creating. It sort of makes me really appreciate the fact that every week we get to do that. You know what I mean? And so it was like, God, yeah, that is really, really fun. Like, that's just fun to do. And also it's about sort of the hope that anything creative brings to, not now. It's sort of like the hope that anything creative brings to everyone around you, that anybody can experience that sort of joy of seeing something that people put together for the pure sake of having fun. So.
I kind of agree with both you guys. I think you articulated what I thought of it much better than I probably will. But as I watching this movie, I hated some parts of it, and then other parts were genius. I literally was like this roller coaster ride of
funny.
this is terrible, and then that is amazing, and then. But ultimately, the idea that the themes of the movie about belief and about making lemons out of lemonade and all that stuff.
Other way around. Okay. Stop that. Reverse it.
I think that right. I think that notion could have been articulated so much better. But I love the handmade feel of so much, which is what he grew up with magic tricks, and he's a master of in-camera effects and all of his things. And this was a movie about that, about the way he thinks in so many ways. But all of the gags in the movie he has done before in such a better way that I implore people to go check out his earlier work.
You mean like the camouflage thing or whatever? There's a...
He's done things like that, but also like the Men in Black gag with the upside down, and there's that one shot. He's done that one shot
where it's a time shot.
That was
I love
he did
that
the Lucas.
shot.
Have you guys seen
great.
Lucas with the lid off? I feel.
You're not speaking?
No.
Lucas with the lid off
You're
video.
actually doing
It's black and white. Look it up.
Unwords.
I'll show
I
you
was
guys.
trying to come up with a phrase that describes that, because it's sort of the steampunk aesthetic. If instead of clockwork mechanics technology, it's like garbage dump.
Handmade?
No, the technology in this movie that they use to make everything, it's like garbage punk almost. It's like anything you can find at a dump, you would make. But you know what? That was Junkpunk. Much better.
Dude, done.
That's why you're the creative one.
Yeah, that's what I do. I just make words up all day.
Yeah. That kind of brings to a point, something that I was disappointed in with the movie, is that it was all about the mechanics of how they pulled it off, and there was no magic in why these people, the townspeople, were so enthralled with seeing it. There was no magic about the people. It was all about it was very about the method in which they used it.
Well, but it was also about those guys, you know what I mean? And sort of the reflection of them on the people. You know what I mean? Like, it would be a different movie if it was about the people. It was about these two guys trying to, you know, sort of figure out what they're supposed to do in life.
But did you ever get a sense of why the people liked watching these movies? I never did.
I did. The same reason I would want to watch those things, because it's like, these guys are idiots, and this is exactly what I would do if somebody said, remake Ghostbusters right now, and in 2 hours, no cuts. I'd be like, all right, I guess I mean, they did stuff that I wouldn't even think to do. You know what I mean? Like the cat jumping out and then shooting it with the Christmas things. It's genius.
It was interesting how this movie very much reminded me of, you guys are like, what? Hustle and Flow. Which I know is a movie that you hate.
It's one of my least favorite movies.
I never saw it.
I love Hustle and Flow, but they're both movies.
It's a very polarizing movie.
It's like a small victory that they made. It's like a small story. He's a despicable person, Hustle and Flow, and these guys kind of are idiots in many ways, and they don't figure it out.
Yeah.
But they have a small, tiny little thing, and in Hustle and Flow, it's a small, tiny little thing, and that small thing that gives us hope that we could conquer bigger things.
Okay.
But anyway,
$4.
news this week. There was news that The Boys has been optioned to be made into a movie, but
anytime that happens to a comic nowadays, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
It doesn't mean the movie's going to be made either.
I know,
Right.
because comics are the new, like, I don't know, all the 80s TV shows are the new comics of 2 years ago or whatever.
Everything is everything. But
Everything is everything, Dan.
when there's a director attached to that, maybe we'll have more to say about it. But there was also news about The Black Hole, the comic book that we've read. David Fincher is now directing it.
Unbelievable.
Hang on, before we talk about that, let me throw out another thing, and so we can talk about both. There's also this director was attached to Akira, the live-action movie, for a while, but now they announced that
pronounced him dead.
Leonardo DiCaprio's company is now producing, so it's becoming much more of a reality. But the director is this guy, Roy Robinson, who's a visual effects guy. He made an awesome animated short and a live-action short that I was not that into.
Well, he's got to be a visual effects guy if it's going to be Akira, the live-action version.
I think it'd be cool for us. We've never talked about anime on this show.
And a lot of people want us to.
Right.
A lot of people have requested that.
Well, we as kids sort of grew up with what could be considered anime?
Robotech.
Robocop. Robotech, RoboCop, all anime. Voltron was anime. You know what I mean? So I always hate saying like, oh yeah, I'm not really into anime or whatever, because it's actually not true. I loved Robotech. Are you kidding me? Loved me some Voltron.
Did you watch Macross? I used to watch Macross.
I did not watch Macross.
I liked
don't
Macross
think.
quite a bit.
What was it about?
It was like Robotech. It was an era of Robotech.
Yeah.
There's gonna be people who are going to write in and tell us how wrong we are about things.
I was so young when I used to watch that, but I just want to say that
I do enjoy that style of talking.
Yeah, Akira was the thing that it was my first anime, basically. It was my evolution.
A lot of people's.
I would assume everyone of my generation, you might agree with this, but it was Akira, and then Ninja Scroll, and then Guyver. Those were like the three things that I was like, anime was like, what is this crazy? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Now I will say, I kind of wish David Fincher wasn't attached to the black hole. I'm less interested in him exploring that universe. I would be stoked if David Fincher was doing the live action Akira, because I've never seen. He has this aesthetic of traveling through
David
so many.
Fincher.
Yeah.
I thought it was David Lynch. And
Ah.
I was like, that's perfect.
Lynch doing Black Hole.
Black Hole. That's why I was like, why are we not on the same page as how?
Perfect.
Because he's fucked up and
Perfect.
crazy.
You know what would be cool about David Fincher
Right,
doing
I forgot
Akira
David Fincher.
is how down to earth and real it would be. And I would love Akira.
To see the opposite of the way the anime was.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
not the opposite necessarily, but
yeah.
I'd love to see that grounded because.
I find him the opposite of what you just said. Finish your thought, but I find that.
Well, I think it's very stylized. I think Fincher's films are very stylized.
So what has he
They have
done
a
just
very
in case
visual.
somebody's messed up like me?
Seven, Zodiac.
right.
Help me out.
7, Zodiac, Fight Club,
Club.
The Game,
The Game, right.
and Alien 3. So I was just gonna say, like, we've never seen him do Future World.
Right.
Yet I feel like he's been inspired. I feel like
Alien-
Blade Runner was his
Alien-
biggest inspiration.
Alien 3 was...
But Alien 3
World.
was like he barely directed. Like, that was like a catastrophe.
Clearly it was
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. So
But yeah, I mean, his stuff all feels like it could have happened, even though it's very stylized, has a very interesting look, a very signature visual style. It definitely, I believe in the world, and I would love to believe in the world of Akira. I would love
wanna
to,
believe in
when the fantastic elements start happening, and they are gruesome as well as fantastic. I want to believe that they're actually happening, and it's not just a comic book world.
You know what the other anime
Like it.
thing that got me going was Fist of the North Star?
oh yes. Did you ever see the live action version of that? Which was
Yes, I did, son.
yeah, you do. This was the other one of that era that was like
I know.
Ninja Scroll, Fist, North Star, and Akira.
Chris Penn.
Chris Penn was in that.
80s.
Speaking
awesome
of
guy.
fists,
Fist punch transition of the North Star!
all right, so this week was GDC, the Game Developers Conference, and we have a lot to talk about. But first and foremost, I want to talk about a game. We have a game to review.
Yes.
Lost Odyssey is from Mistwalker Studios. It's Hironobu Sakaguchi, who was the guy who created Final Fantasy. So this is a very traditional Japanese role-playing game. It's on the Xbox 360 exclusively. And it is a massive 4-disc epic adventure, but it is a very, very old school type role-playing game in the tradition of the early Final Fantasy games. And
Super turn-based.
yes, all turn-based combat. It's kind of story cutscene driven.
Yeah.
Alex, did you enjoy playing it? Do you like Japanese
that's-
role-playing games? First
Okay, two good questions.
Let's take guesses.
Two good questions. One of the first initial things that happened to me when I was playing this game was that I went, oh, I wonder if I've been missing out on this amazing experience that one can be had from playing these turn-based RPGs.
Because you haven't played.
I've never played Final Fantasy. And I've always tried, and then I've been like, that's not my thing. You know what I mean? And
Not even like in the olden days, like on
NES?
Super NES, yeah. Phantasy Star, none of those.
no, I mean I tried, but then it was like I just didn't. It just never. They just never spoke to me.
Okay.
So the first thing after the first like turn-based combat thing, because it sort of starts, you know, the way some games do, where they like throw you in and you're like, now you're just doing it. You'll learn on the job learning,
Right.
as it were. And I was like, ooh, I kind of like this, like turn-based. And it's also because now I've experienced pen and paper D&D. I've experienced Magic the Gathering. I've experienced
Right.
World of Warcraft. I've experienced all these things that are sort of building on what the Final Fantasies and the role-playing games of old were, you know, also, they were around then too. Anyway, long story short, I hated the game. Beyond hated the game. I mean, it was like, poke, 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 poke in my eyes. I mean, reading dream sequences, like...
Well, we should explain what that is. There are these moments. So the story of Lost Odyssey is Kaim is an immortal among 4 immortals,
that
and
needs
he's been
to
around
find the
for
giant staff. Like,
Grand Staff.
The Grand
right.
Staff.
So he doesn't have his memory. His memory was stolen from him somehow.
all the immortals.
Right.
don't have him with
exactly. and there's some grand conspiracy plot as to why. But so certain moments in the game will trigger these memories that they call dreams.
Yes.
And they are literally text that comes up
They're
on
like
the screen.
attempts at like poems and maybe
Short stories, really.
Well, but maybe I'm missing it. Well, but like there's like weird like the secrets kind of like weird ethereal. I felt like I was watching something that a website Oprah would send me to,
Right.
with like the different music as the story goes.
But to be fair, you can skip these. They're not unskippable.
Well, but I didn't know at the time when it started if that was something that would be a benefit or not. And I
Sure.
wanted to experience the game the way it was presented to me. So I didn't know if that was a bad thing if I did that.
Right.
So I went through 2.
Okay.
Then I skipped them.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was like, maybe I need this.
Way further than I
Yeah,
got.
no, well, let's just, okay. So I experienced the fighting and I was like, this is interesting. First off, the first battle scene is like gory and epic and weird.
You mean
and
the
there's,
cutscene, the intro?
The intro cutscene, I was like,
kind of like Lord of
The
the Rings
greatest-
style.
dude, yes.
One of the greatest intro,
Yes.
cutscenes in a game. Like
Yes,
the fight choreography
agreed.
that maybe it's because I now have 5.1.
the
but that
rezzing
shit
and the
was awesome.
rezzing channels of like the
Yeah.
mystics that were rezzing people and
Yeah.
like it just was so I was very excited and that's when I was feeling that like maybe I should play some Final Fantasy. Then it just became the worst writing in the history of writing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the most cliche guy, the drunk guy who comes out with the girls and he's like, he's the bad boy drunk. I mean, it was just like, I have to watch this before I can fight more people. So I checked out way early. I wanted to play I was like Mass Effect. I was like, I just want to play as much of this as I can so I can really get into it. And I was like, I have to stop playing this. This is so bad.
Danny, what did you think?
Okay, interesting.
And wait, one more point, real quick before you do it.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared that this is a PS3 or Xbox 360 exclusive because I had horrible frame rate drops. Horrible frame rate drops, and it make me feared that some of the other stuff we're going to talk about is also based on the same engine, but I'm hoping it'll be.
Let's be clear. You were playing on the dev kit with a.
Oh, did you not have any of that?
I didn't have any.
Okay. In that case,
I don't know.
Disregard.
I don't think I had any.
Disregard.
Okay.
Frame rate, silky smooth.
a lot of load times.
Okay. First off, I played the original Final Fantasy for Nintendo, and I played Phantasy Star 3 on the Genesis. I probably played some role-playing games back in the day. I have not played one since then.
Okay.
So I really started out like Alex playing this game. I was like, I haven't played, but now maybe I'll like it. You know, people always like love the stories in these games and the music and stuff. So I'm like, I'm excited. I'm gonna finally experience.
Music
this.
is by Uematsu, who's the guy who did all the Final Fantasy
Right.
music. It's very
Sure.
famous.
I was reading about that.
Yeah.
I was reading about that because I loved the music in the game.
Aha.
In the beginning, I was like, "This is lame," and I started having all these realizations of how amazing Mass Effect was.
Yeah.
The fighting, that Mass Effect, I could experience the story because I was in it, and I didn't have to halt the story, and then all of a sudden I'm in this turn-based game, and I'm like,
Right.
that's amazing for something like pen and paper D&D because you're imagining everything, but in a medium in which I don't need to imagine. Why does my story need to halt in order to fight? Okay, that all being said, I freaking love this game. I love this game.
Wow.
I think the writing in this game is some of the best writing of any video game ever. Let me say.
Oh my God! Are
wait,
you seriously?
Alex,
I feel like you're playing a trick on me. I feel like you're playing a trick on me.
I too hated that drunk dude, and then
Jansen,
that was
Jansen.
That was not the
But-
only reason I hated the
but-
writing. That was
well,
just
I'm-
a good example.
Maybe you don't like the writing at all, but it's fine. But I'm just saying, I
God.
thought the same things you thought, but then he becomes, dude, when he sees that kid who's like possessed by the thing and he's like, whatever, and he goes, oh, puberty's a little weird here, isn't it? Or whatever. Dude, it's hysterical. I bonded with these characters.
Wow.
There's some intensely sad sequences that I very easily could have cried at, but I didn't. I think the story's amazing, and I went through a profound moment where, what I was just saying, where the fighting sort of interrupts the game experience. I feel like this game started to do something midway through where it made this way of fighting it more involving in the experience in that moment between Toten and the guy when he's fighting the mud people, when you switch characters to that guy or whatever.
Yes.
I I love it. I'm mad that Jeff has the second disc. I really want to be playing it.
Wow.
I did pay $60 for that.
Yeah, that is currently his
So
disc.
here's my
Jeff,
take on it.
oh my God, am I gonna be vetoed or?
I've always been a more of a Western RPG guy. I
gonna
love
be
me some
vetoed.
I love me some Japanese RPGs.
He's starting with the negative.
This game,
That means I'm screwed.
this game, the first half an hour to an hour is not good, and it turns into what I like to say is an and yet game, and yet it's great. It gets really, really good. This game does a lot of things really poorly. I don't think the graphics are all that great. I mean, a lot of the stuff
The rain
that
level.
Sakaguchi was saying. Yeah, I mean, there are moments that look great.
Yeah.
But what Sakaguchi was saying before this came out was that you were going to be unable to differentiate between a cutscene and the game. It was just going to flow seamlessly, and it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. But the music is great. This game, as you go on, it gets really fun. And as I was at GDC, all I wanted to do is come home and play more of Lost Odyssey.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I agree with you. Jansen starts out, you're like, oh,
but
come
I think
on.
maybe I didn't, because I gave it 4 hours of playing, and I was like, if I'm not, I mean, if it's like painful for me to play after 4 hours, I'm not giving you any more of my time.
I hear you. And there's something that is sort of inherent as a problem with this genre, is that as the game goes on, things start happening. As soon as you get the 4th member in your party, and the 5th member, and then the 6th member, and then you start swapping out members of your party, and you get different forms of magic. You get spirit magic, and you get composite magic, which allows you to do combine different parts.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it levels of complexity.
Disc 2
combat
is
system.
amazing.
It had been so long since I'd played. I did not play Final Fantasy XII, and I really want to. I missed it because I was already in my if it ain't HD, it ain't for me phase.
Yeah.
But
I'm still in that phase.
I remembered how much fun it is to play turn-based fighting systems, because the strategy that you use, the thing that this game does so great is
Rings.
the bosses.
Oh, yeah.
The bosses
the
are
rings.
like little puzzle games, because there's a way to beat them.
There's only one way, man. I was like,
Some of them are so devious, and they have so many different elements to them, and yeah. So I'm so glad you liked it. I thought for sure you were gonna hate it too.
I thought for sure I was going to hate it.
I did hate it.
Yeah. Okay. So
I didn't get
anyway,
past that point.
We got a lot to talk about with GDC.
Yes.
And so the biggest announcement, of course, was at Microsoft's keynote, where they announced Gears of War 2. Well, obviously we knew that was coming. It's not the biggest surprise in the world, but the fact that they announced the game is coming out in November, but no other information, leads me to this question. We all loved Gears of War, the first one. Love.
Love.
It is a tentpole game to me, I guess.
I think it's
the
a
game that I compare all other games to, sort
It's
of.
sort of a tentpole game in our relationship as friends, also.
yeah.
You know, it's like the one of the
I'm
first
getting a
ones.
tentpole right now, just thinking about it.
My question.
Okay, all right,
My
okay.
question to you is, what do you want to see in Gears of War 2? Dan, what do you want to see in
Don't
Gears
start
of
with
War 2?
me. I don't know.
I mean, do you just want to see more of the same because what worked was great? Do you need to see gameplay innovation? Do you need to see more of a story because the story was kind of?
Well, but
Do you just
God,
want to see
that's
more new quests?
well, let me put it to you this
Wonderful
way.
question.
The way that
thank
you
you, Dan.
pose the question makes me not want to say yes. I just want more of the same.
Right.
But that said, if I was just given literally what it is called, Gears of War 2, all the shit's the same except it's a different story and different stuff to do, I would be wholeheartedly satisfied.
So you would be happy just continuing on doing more missions,
Yes.
crazier.
Now that said, I can't imagine that they would not. I can't imagine, because of the huge steps in gameplay that happened with Gears of War 2, the stuff that they did, the little things that they did. I mean, the online co-op was the first time that I was really like, oh, I get online co-op. Everybody must have this online co-op because it's amazing. We played through it multiple times. We played through the mini game of the rifle stuff. That leads me to believe that it would be shocking if they didn't do more of those types of things. I would be surprised.
There was probably more that they wanted for the first
I
one,
know.
but didn't get a chance
But
to.
couldn't make
Do you
it.
want that game?
They
to
wanted 4-player co-op. Sorry.
Well, I hope that that's in the sequel. But do you want to see something like vehicles? Do you want to see something like?
We had the one vehicle level in the first one,
Well,
but that
that's
was
not a
not
vehicle
that
level,
great.
that's like a-
But that was.
I'm gonna say what
bad.
I fear that they're gonna do, and what I hope that they don't do, is what Halo did when taking the jump from Halo to Halo 2, which is we're making it more of an arcade game, more of the Unreal Tournament style. They could easily make this game.
I mean the multiplayer.
Multiplayer, way more twitchy, bigger maps, lots of people. I kind of like that it was always 4-on-4. The maps were kind of small, but they were so intricate and different, and I like that. And also, the weight of the characters was so, like the slamming into walls. If they speed that process up like they did with Halo 2, I'm going to be very, very disappointed.
Do you have anything that you really want to see out of the
Well,
sequel?
this is a ripe opportunity for me to talk about a franchise at which all I wanted was more of the same. What they gave me was something completely different, and
you want to apologize to me, right?
I reprimanded them for that, and now, before getting Lost Odyssey, I've been playing WoW-like hours of Burnout Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
I love the single
not-
player. I love the multiplayer. I love that game.
And
it's amazing.
Apology accepted.
I still don't like it as much as Dan and Jeff.
But
So you're
Gears
saying
of War 2, I would love to see 4-player co-op. It's a must for me. So I would want them to do that differently. Vehicles sound great to me.
all this is speculation, obviously. I'm just
Of
saying,
course.
what are the things that?
Do I want more of the same, or do I want more things? I think I would love. I think if I said I just want more of the same when it comes out, before I've said it's just more of the same, you know? So it'd be great for them to do things that someone like with my brain could never even guess what it could be. So I would love the innovation that mini gun, which is basically like the ring system in Lost Odyssey. I would love to have another kind of thing that's like that, where it makes me approach things in a different way. The only thing I demand really is 4-player co-op.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the.
Well, but
biggest
like they said,
feature.
they were working on actually adding that in as a patch for Gears of War. So clearly it was something they were trying to get out with Gears of War 1, so I can't imagine they would.
Okay,
throw
one
it
last
Gears
quick
of War
thing
2.
I just want to throw in is Fable 2. Peter Mullen, you talked a lot at GDC about it. One of the cool announcements that he made was that there's going to be, clearly it's a role-playing game, so there's going to be an economy, there's going to be a currency in-game. What they're going to do is release a week ahead of time an Xbox Live arcade title that is this gambling type of game, where all the money you make in the gambling game, your character will then have in Fable 2. So my question to you is
funny.
this. Cool feature or crass money grab for you to get to make you buy an arcade game also?
Oh, you have to buy the gambling game?
Which is an Xbox Live arcade game. It's probably gonna be $5-10, something like that, but yeah.
You don't think it'll come out free?
I would be shocked.
I would be too. And I would say if it doesn't come out free, shame on you.
Really?
Of course, wholeheartedly. The only way, like,
It's not required.
no, I know, but it's like, I can't say that because we're not going to talk about Knight Rider, but it's like you're already getting my money. You're already getting my money. I'm already watching your shit. Don't come out and give me something that I've got to purchase. It'll make sense when I talk about Knight Rider.
You agree?
I don't know. I think that's cool. I'd be bummed if it was like a multiplayer thing, because then I'd be like, well, people who are better at that mini game are going to start
more
that
money,
game
yeah.
way off more than me, which is maybe a gamer score issue with us. But
Everything is. Because in that game also, anything you see you can own. You can buy, if you walk into a tavern, you can buy that tavern. If you there's a building that you pass along the street, you can buy that if you want.
I think if I could continue to play that game throughout my experience of Fable and always be accruing money,
No
I
reason
think
not
that's awesome.
I
think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
That
I just don't like
I don't
if
just
they-
get money if I find it. Anyone who has a walkthrough can go find all the money in the game, and you can only ultimately buy whatever the game allows.
Right.
You know what I mean? If what you're saying is that, then I can always be like, I'd have to play a game to get them. And if I'm good at this thing, I'll have more stuff. So I get more gamers points than you because I'm actually doing this thing better.
You
I'm
get
not
the
just
landlord
finding.
thing where you buy a slum tenant.
Right.
Nice.
That's cool. Do you think it's cool?
I think it's very
As you
cool.
punch?
Yeah, I think it is very, very cool. And I'm excited to see what it does.
$10.
Hey guys.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
You guys want to watch my vacation photos?
Oh, Dad, do we have to?
Shut up, son. You're gonna listen to your uncle.
So I got to go to GDC. Unfortunately, I had to go by myself. Alex was in St. Louis.
I was actually in the ice storm that caused Dignation to be late, if anybody recognizes that.
And
I was playing Lost Odyssey.
So I want to tell these guys what I only got to go for one day at GDC, but I saw some awesome stuff, and these are my photos that I took by myself.
I find this interesting. This is one of those 3-monitor helicopter things
So I
that
just
they
took
sell.
I took some shots of stuff that I just thought was cool, like this.
One of those.
Okay, so the first really cool. This is a blurry picture I took.
Is that a Blizzard logo?
That is a blurry picture of something that says visual clarity.
Yes.
Yeah. Done on purpose, right, Jeff? Done on purpose.
This is going to be a seminar on irony. So this is the first actual thing that I went to see, a presentation that I went to see at GDC. People who haven't been to GDC before, like me, before this year, it's all for the developers, and so there's lots of almost classrooms or design discussions or very in-depth for the developers. And this is the first one I went to, and it was really cool. It was all about Blizzard's approach to multiplayer.
Oh, well, continue, sir.
Yeah, right? So the thing that I took away from it, it was a lot of various points talking about StarCraft, Warcraft, and World of Warcraft, and how they approach designing multiplayer games. And the thing that I took away from it that was so awesome was they're really, what they do to mold and use player psychology when they're.
I like that.
So they were talking about stuff like when they originally in the beta introduced a rest bonus in World of Warcraft.
Yes.
You know how when you leave the game you get a bonus.
If you're in and yeah.
Yeah, they actually used to do it the opposite way. It used to be a penalty. For if you played a long time, you started out with 100%, you'd get 100% experience, and then if you hadn't logged off in a long time, you would go down to 50% experience.
So they slowed down the people that were playing.
Why am I getting penalized for playing your game?
Right.
So what they did was they changed it to you get 100% experience, and when you log off, you come back, you get 200% experience. It's the same exact thing. It's just shown to the player in the opposite way.
As a positive
and so
way
everyone
instead of
loves it, and it is completely
brilliant.
the same thing,
Amazing.
right? It was so fascinating to get these guys talking about the thought process. Like they were saying how they, it was Ron Pardo, the head of Blizzard, and he was saying that his design thing he says to his design team is every unit or every item, depending on the game, should feel overpowered. There was a lot of cool XNA stuff. There's this game called Go Go Break Steady, which was really awesome, like breakdancing game.
Sweet.
Wow.
Where it's a rhythm game, and you have to hit these buttons as they come across the screen. And then as you do that well, it turns into Zuma. So it's like this weird, so then you're shooting Zuma. It's like this weird hybrid game. So
weird.
Really cool. I think the thing I took out of GDC the most this year was the independent games, because there's some really awesome concepts that. There's this game.
Just like Stardust HD.
You fill the world with flowers. That's the whole thing. You just make flowers on this world.
I love that it actually says, fill the world with flowers.
Yeah. I played Super Smash Brothers Brawl. We'll talk about that later
Oh.
in a future episode.
I think I got to get the component cables. I think that
Played
might
the
be part
Wii
of my...
Fit.
What did you think, sir, of the Wii Fit, or the electric platform of exercise?
God help me, it's awesome.
Really?
I'm shocked, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it. We'll be talking about it more on the show. It's coming out in June. The exercise stuff.
It's just exercise stuff.
Exercise stuff. But the games, the mini games, the Wii is already the perfect, let's have a few beers and look like jackasses playing a game.
Right.
This is, I played the snow skiing game, and you shift your weight to make your guy turn.
Yeah.
And then there's a snow jump game where you jump up onto your tiptoes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's great because it's competitive with your friends, and it's difficult, and it's a way to interact with a game you've never done before.
I like it. I want to
And
see SSX Tricky.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And skateboarding games?
Yeah.
How badass would that be? They said there's 10 games in development for the Wii Fit board.
Interesting.
But the most fun I had the whole time I was there, Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword for the DS.
Really?
It's awesome.
Oh.
It's awesome. Completely controlled by the stylus, but it's a full-on Ninja Gaiden action game, and you strike the stylus to do slashes, you can do circles, and you do spin attacks. You control it completely with the stylus, and it works. This is really cool. This was a company that was showing motion capture where they do it and you don't have to wear a ping pong ball suit. So there's 2 games in the Independent Games Festival. One was called Goo and the other was called World of Goo. But they're very, very different games.
Yeah.
Both were very cool. The World of Goo won a bunch of the awards. But I thought this one was really cool. It was done by one guy, and he did it as a way to challenge himself to do multi-threading, seeing how many different tasks you can have on the different threads on the 360. You play this gelatinous ooze, and you have to encircle other ooze, and you can play 2 players, and you try to encircle each other.
Tron
You calculate
cycles.
yourself.
Cool.
But there's so many really cool effects. Like he's got music synthesis in the background, so it's giving you a visualization of music in the background. And it's also, there's different modes to make your goo look like different things. This is the game that won the grand prize at the awards ceremony that I went to, Crayon Physics Deluxe. So it works exactly like Kirby's Canvas Curse, where you draw stuff, you have to get something from one place to another, right? So you have to get
We
this
like
ball
that.
down to these things, and you literally can draw anything you want in crayon.
Oh wow, it's
You draw
awesome.
anything you want and it turns
Love
into physics.
it.
Right?
Love
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so the next major thing that I went to was a thing about Spore. And I'm telling you guys, Spore is gonna rule the world.
I'm nervous. I am
Okay.
Spore.
So there's gonna be this thing called Sporepedia where it makes these cards of anything you create in the game, right? The crazy thing about this that I learned is that everything you create in the game, any creature, any vehicle, any building, anything you create in the game, it creates one of these cards. And what the card is a PNG file. It's literally just a
Image.
picture,
Right.
but they found a way to attach all the information to that picture that makes up in the game world what the object is. I can take this and look at it as a picture, and then if I like it, drag it into Spore, and Spore knows what it is, and it's a complete object in the game that I can use. People are going to be able to do what they call Sporecasts, which is they become aggregators of content, and you can subscribe, like I can subscribe to Alex's Sporecast, and so all the shit that he's searched through all the stuff that people have made and selected his favorites and sends them out as a Sporecast. So if there's people who you start trusting the content that they like, you can get just that content in your game. This is another great independent game called The Misadventures of P.B. Winterbottom. Totally up your alley. This is a guy, I think he's from USC. He was a film studies major first, and now he's in grad school making computer games.
I like it. Yeah.
And
It's got
Dan's
this.
like, all right.
It's got this sort of like French New Wave, French Impressionist.
Looks like
art
Cabinet
style.
of Dr. Caligari.
So the whole thing with this game, he said the inspiration was Back to the Future 2.
Dan's already in. Stop getting Dan more in. You don't need to do more Dan's in.
He already has
stuff.
1,000 boners right
Yeah.
now. This is actually a Half-Life 2 mod
What?
called Flipside. It's a completely 2-dimensional game, but you press a button and everything flips over and it's all the same stuff but darker colored and he's evil.
Amazing.
That's epic.
Yeah.
Do you have the flip?
No. This is another game where you kick little guys into this mouth, and then at a certain point it tells you
You've
run
killed
to
enough
the
guys.
ass, and you have to run around to the back before it farts. Don't know why.
All
It's awesome.
right.
Okay.
Oh.
Whoa.
Bionic Commando.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude. Yeah, dude.
Whoa. Jeffrey.
Jeffrey,
Wait.
apology accepted.
Whoa.
Apology accepted.
Absolutely. I'm so stoked for this game now. Seeing it played in front of me live, gorgeous, and literally you can attach your thing to anything, which is what I was worried about. I was worried it was going to have the Metroid thing where it only has grapple points.
Yeah.
No, you can attach to anything. You can attach to an enemy.
Or
I saw
Devil
him-
May Cry or whatever.
He attaches to an enemy and it sucks him toward him and he kicks the guy. It's awesome.
Well, Jeff,
Yeah.
I have to say, there's a good ending, by the way. But I have to say, I wish we could have gone.
I wish you guys
know,
would've gone.
awesome.
Maybe next year.
I had so much fun. It was such a...
GDC 08, 7.
Yeah, let's
9.
do it.
Well, before we get to our email, let's check in with our sponsors. Dan, Jeff.
Oh, I have the privilege of talking to you about Netflix this week.
What?
What? I just wanted to see his reaction, but you reacted even more.
I know.
No, GoDaddy.com is our friends in the domain name business, and if you need a domain as low as $1.99, you should go to GoDaddy.com, use our promo code TRS1, it'll get you 10% off your order. and it'll make you happy. Also, guaranteed.
Yep, guaranteed happiness. GoDaddy.com.
Also, Netflix. Netflix is, of course, online renting. They have 75,000 titles. One of those titles that our show recommends you renting is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Add that to your queue.
Well, I didn't love it.
Well, our show still recommends it.
All right.
Three dentists agree. Oh, by the way, we all got our DDS.
I didn't hate it, but
That being said, they do offer HD DVD and Blu-ray titles. There's 40 shipment centers, so you get
HD DVD, not so much.
not so much, but they still offer them, but they're
not.
not making more of them.
Been talked about.
Yeah. 40 shipment centers, so you get your flick like the next day. I don't know why I always say that the same way, even though it's the whatever. Plans start at $4.99 and up. In order to get the deal, head over to www.netflix.com/TRS. Please put those wwws in. They are important.
Very well done, sirs, both of you are scholars and gentlemen.
Well, Scott.
Let's get to our email from another gentleman. This email comes to us from Austin, Texas. Hey guys, I'm on the road about 200 days a year. Whoa. And your podcast makes dealing with my hassle of travel so much easier. Thank you for the constantly putting out quality product. Thank you, Jonathan, for being so cool about this. So to my question. My question has to do with your recent episode where you guys were placing bets on the Oscars. And while you were writing your predictions, I noticed that all three of you seem to be left-handed.
Very perceptive.
That's interesting. I'm left-handed, and if all three of you guys are too, you'd rack up a whole lot of cool points. So if you could address whether you are or not, and if so, how you guys handle being left-handed in a right-handed world, I would appreciate it. Best, Jonathan from Austin, Texas. Well, Jonathan, you are correct.
All left-handed.
We are all left-handed. Not only that, but my other partner in crime, one Kevin Rose, is also left-handed.
Crazy.
Slowly taking over the world.
Yes, 10% at a time. Now, what did you guys ever have anything growing up about being left-handed? Was there ever a situation where you were like, ah, damn, I wish? I mean,
Constantly.
Really?
I always took pride in it because I think you can go two ways with anything in life, and one of them is like, oh, I'm a little bit special, or oh, woe is me. And I always kind of felt like, oh, a little bit special, but I was constantly running into things where it was more difficult. Scissors, continued to be
That's
a
what
big
I was
in my
going to say. In
existence.
art class, there was never any left-handed scissors.
Yep.
And I
hate the molded
needed
ones
other people
that
to
you
cut
put in,
things
and
for me.
they're
Those are just-
nice, comfortable with the righty, and hurt like hell when you're lefty.
Yeah.
What about, did you guys ever get the black
That was what I was gonna say. Was the worst thing for me is writing.
lead?
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
pencil lead.
right.
Not pencil lead. For me, it's ink.
Both.
Because I don't do. Because I don't know. Are either of your parents left-handed?
Nope.
My dad is.
Yeah, my mom's left-handed, and that I think helped me when I was growing up because I always looked at it as something that was special. That I was sort of not better than everybody else, but that there was something
Superior.
unique about me. Yes, blonde hair, blue eyes, and left-handed. I was the superior race.
Come on. Why?
I should not be laughing, but I condone that. It's okay. We can laugh at that.
Okay, good. We got the Dan seal of approval
Yes,
on that
it's
joke,
fine.
even though it was a little off color. But
I
yeah, so
will
that
change
was
the
one
subject
thing.
and
Well,
so-
no, that was one thing that I didn't like was the ink, was drawing my hand.
You know
across
what
the
we
ink.
all didn't
got
realize
pencil
too?
lead.
Is that the binders, the rings on the binders?
Oh, I hated that.
I realized that.
I didn't realize my whole life. Oh my God, when you're right-handed, you don't have that like.
It's not an issue.
Yeah.
Did you guys take your paper out and then write on the other side, or did you do the turn the paper
I just dealt
completely
with it.
upside
I didn't know
down?
that I could
There was
do
a
that.
cool place in San Francisco when I was growing up called Left-Handers World. I think Ned Flanders owned it. No, but seriously, there was a Left-Handers World, and they sold notebooks that had the rings on the other side.
Crazy.
And I bought one once at a very young age and kept it my whole life.
Wow.
But I have to say, bless my dad's heart because teaching me to swing a baseball bat, to throw a baseball, to throw a football, all that stuff, he would go to his other side to try to teach me how to do
Well,
it.
that's what my next question was going to be. Was everybody has their things? I play drums right-handed.
I can play guitar right-handed.
I
for
play
some
guitar right-handed. I bat right-handed. I golf right-handed.
reason. Oh, really? You bat right-handed?
I bat right-handed, but I pitch
I
left-handed.
I only write and cut left-handed.
Everything else is
I
right.
throw right. I punch right when I
that's
get into
funny.
brawls.
I was gonna say I'm like a southpaw as well.
Yeah, I'm not a South. It's interesting about Southpaw. My dad had a mug that said Southpaw on it my whole life. Never knew what that was. Bless Rocky's heart, because that movie taught me many things about life. One of them being
And about your father.
yes, but punch right, bat right, kick right, the kickball.
Like,
yeah.
Demonstrate them for us.
Kick right, punch this way.
So yeah, I mean, I'm.
Calisthenics right. That's the whole. I'm right.
So I didn't have the issue of batting like that.
What about you?
thing.
So you.
Yeah, but I was always, my dad was always trying to show me how to do it backwards for him,
Yeah.
to show me as a kid the right way, my correct way to do it. And I never got, did you guys ever get any of the, like, you shouldn't be that, fix you kind of thing?
No, I think my mom did early on.
Yeah,
She
it's
saw
a
that in
generational
school. Well, but she saw it in school. But my grandparents are very sort of artistic. You know, like my grandmother is a painter, and so I think that they were sort of like, baby, you're left-handed. You know, very like Southern California, like, baby, you're
dad-
left-handed, you're left-handed. But she said at school there were people who literally were like, if you're left-handed, you're writing this hand no matter what.
Yeah.
My dad has the most terrible handwriting ever because he was taught to write right-handed, but he now uses left hand, and he was.
Well, isn't he also a doctor? Isn't that kind
Yes,
of required?
I know. Isn't
I
that
don't know
weird?
why
Yeah.
that is.
So left-handers of the world unite
Yes.
behind our show. And also right-handers
and
welcome.
dyslexics untie. I love that bumper sticker.
Yeah.
I got that bumper sticker.
What is it?
Dyslexics untie.
Okay.
You get-
Dan's
it's a-
not getting it right away.
It's a trip homer. You know, one of those ones you get on the trip home.
Oh, that's funny.
Dyslexics.
I just did that to your.
Unite. Thank you.
It's genius. Take
Okay.
a
I guess we're on a
genius.
trip home now because Dan just
We
got that
are.
joke.
Well, if you would like to send an email, and thank you, Jonathan, for sending one in, you can do so to fans@totallyradshow.com.
That's also, you would send a background if you want to give us
Like
a
this
background.
one?
We love the backgrounds. You can go to our website. You can download this background. You can download our logo and templates for sending your own background.
Correct. I'm
You can also go to our website and join the forums if you want to discuss this episode or previous episodes or anything that's on top of your mind.
Episodes?
Or well, then you'd have to be in the future, and I'm not
Yeah, it's
prepared to
time- it's a
condone
time
that.
problem.
I mean, Dan can condone things, but I'm not prepared to condone that. So anyway, go to totallyradshow.com. Also, I want to mention the forums. Iggy Star, one of our illustrious forum members, has started a really cool thing with the Totally Rad Show Book Challenge. And we've kind of dropped the ball with books, but I love reading and I love books, and I highly recommend checking out the thread and getting on the bandwagon of that. And there's really cool discussions going on with reading books. So
The book bandwagon.
Also on the website is a Rad Recommendations bar where you can purchase some of the things we talked about the show. For instance, Lost Odyssey.
Correct.
But as always, you can head over to myspace.com/totallyradshow to become our friend and find out many things about the show. But what will be up on the website is the poll, to which I have a question for the poll question.
Which you haven't run by us.
Is do you have it in your hearts to play in a Japanese style role-playing game?
do you have it in your heart?
You have it in
I
your
mean,
heart?
have you always been playing it since you come up with all the various degrees?
Oh, I gotcha. So you
Yeah.
just throw it out
So
there and then
basically,
we have to
what
figure
just
it out.
happened is you were stalling, trying to come up with a poll question,
It's something like-
and that's
yeah.
the best you could do.
So no, it's like,
times.
are they
Good times.
crazy?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
love
yeah.
them? Have you never played them since you were a kid? Do you
How
want to
about
get back
Western
in?
versus Eastern? Does that sound good?
Oh, I like that one too. Yes. It will go through the approval
So
process.
what movie are we going to see
Okay,
next week?
movie next week. Well, first of all, Semi-Pro does come out, but Will Ferrell hilarity ensues comedy.
Wow.
We'd like
Will Ferrell's in it.
We'll see. But what we're going to review is a indie horror flick called The Signal that's got a lot of big buzz.
All right.
I like
Signal.
Big Buzz.
So we'll check it out.
I like Big Buzz.
And I cannot lie. You
Yo,
buzz
other
buzz
buzz
can't
can't
deny. Speaking of things to do that are awesome, how about nominating some of your favorite segments and shows for
It's
Is
the
it, right?
last week that
It's the
you
last
can do
week
it.
nominations. So send your nominations for best TV section, movie section, video game section, comic book section, best off-green screen segment, best intro, best episode of the year.
Yours
to
background?
Fan best background to vote at totallyradshow.com. That's vote at totallyradshow.com. Vote soon, vote often.
Yes. And so it's the last week, and then next week's show, we're going to announce the finalists, and then
Correct.
you can vote on our poll, and
So,
we'll
so
award the
basically,
winner.
next Friday at say about noon Pacific time is the last time to enter. because that'll be
Yes.
about when we're tallying it up when we're shooting the next week's show. And that is it, friends, for this week's edition of the Totally Rad Show. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Canada.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg, use your left hand.
Until next time, I always do. I actually do.
Confused. We swear this is all true. Not just the premise to the Totally Rad.
I don't like you. We're wanted men.
Damn it.